Marlon Humphrey just received a major opportunity that could completely change the way his story is written in Baltimore. But are the Ravens about to see the return of the player who dominated the NFL for so many years? After a difficult season, many people started questioning Marlon's future and wondering if he was still capable of playing at an elite level. But there's an important reason to believe that 2026 could become the year he answers all those doubts. And today, I'm going to show you what changed, why this news matters so much for Humphrey, and the one detail that can make all the difference next season. Stay with me until the end, because you're going to understand why this could be the opportunity Marlon Humphrey needed to prove that he is still one of the biggest names on the Ravens defense. Can you imagine one of the most important players on the Ravens defense appearing on a list that no athlete ever wants to be part of? Well, that is exactly the situation Marlon Humphrey is facing right now. The Baltimore cornerback, who for years has been considered one of the biggest names at his position in the NFL, is now at the center of a conversation involving his contract, his performance, and the expectations surrounding him. And in my opinion, this is one of those situations that needs to be analyzed carefully, because we're talking about a player who has already proven his value, but is also coming off a season that was far below the standard he created for himself. According to an analysis from Casino Guru USA, Humphrey was ranked as the fourth most overpaid cornerback in the NFL. The study created what it called an overpaid score, comparing each player's contract value with production they delivered on the field. Marlon received a score of 74.4, ranking behind only DJ Reed, Paulson Adebo, and Darren Bland. And if you only look at that number, it might seem like Baltimore made a mistake investing so much money in him. But I believe there is a much bigger story behind this. A player does not receive a contract worth nearly $100 million by accident. The biggest reason behind this negative evaluation is the financial impact Humphrey has on the Ravens. His contract creates a $26.2 million cap hit for the team, which is a massive number for any player at the cornerback position. And when a player takes up that much space on the salary cap, the pressure naturally increases. In my opinion, that is the price of being considered one of the leaders of a defense. When you are at the top of the salary structure, people expect you to deliver elite performances every single season. But we also have to remember the journey that brought Marlon to this point. He signed a 5-year, $98.75 million extension in 2020 because he was viewed as one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. He was selected to 3 Pro Bowls, led the Ravens defense through important moments, and earned the respect of the entire league. And even Humphrey himself admitted that his 2025 season was below expectations, showing that he understands there is room for improvement. And that is exactly why the next part of the story is so important. We need to understand whether the real problem is the contract itself, or if Marlon still has what it takes to prove he is the dominant player Baltimore believed they were signing. When we talk about Marlon Humphrey, the conversation is not only about what he does on the field, but also about the role he plays in the Ravens' financial structure. And this is something I believe is extremely important, because in the NFL, money always comes with expectations. When a team makes a massive investment in a player, especially a position as important as cornerback, the pressure automatically increases. It is not enough to simply be a good player. You have to justify the impact that contract has on the team's overall plans. Humphrey's contract is one of the biggest reasons why he appears on this list of players considered overpaid. The defender signed a 5-year, $98.75 million extension in 2020, an agreement that showed just how much Baltimore believed in him at that time. And when you look back at when that deal was made, it is easy to understand why the Ravens made that decision. Marlon was coming off extremely consistent seasons. He was one of the leaders of the defense, and he had built a reputation as a player capable of changing the outcome of a game. But now, the situation has changed. With a $26.2 million cap hit, Humphrey represents a significant amount of resources that Baltimore could potentially use to improve other areas of the roster. And when a player carries such a massive salary cap number, any drop in production becomes much more noticeable. In my opinion, that is the biggest challenge Marlon is facing right now. It is not just about playing well again, but proving that he is still the kind of player who deserves to have one of the biggest contracts in his position. Even so, there is one important detail that I think needs to be highlighted. The Ravens do not appear desperate to fix the situation. When general manager Eric DeCosta was asked during the 2026 NFL Combine about the possibility of adjusting Humphrey's contract, he did not show immediate concern about restructuring the deal. And that tells us something important about how Baltimore views the situation internally. The organization still believes in Marlon and understands that one difficult season does not erase everything he has accomplished throughout his career. But to understand why that confidence is being tested, we need to look at what happened on the field in 2025 and why Humphrey's performance created so many questions. If there is one major reason why Marlon Humphrey's name has started to be questioned, it is directly connected to the way he performed last season. And we need to be fair here. Nobody is saying this is a player who never produced. Quite the opposite. We are talking about an athlete who built a high-level career and became one of the most respected defenders in the league. But in the NFL, especially when you have a massive contract, your past accomplishments cannot be the only argument. What happens on the field every Sunday is what truly matters. During the 2025 season, Humphrey finished with 68 tackles for interceptions and 7 pass breakups while starting 15 games. Those numbers show that he was still able to make some important plays. But when we look at his overall performance, there were clear signs of decline. According to PFF, Marlon finished with an overall grade of 50.1 and a coverage grade of just 43.1, both career lows. For a player who entered the season being considered one of the top 10 cornerbacks in the NFL, that difference was impossible to ignore. And what makes this even more interesting is that Humphrey himself admitted that his season was below expectations. I actually see that as a positive sign, because it shows that he understands the situation and knows there is work to be done. Great players usually do not run away from responsibility when they go through difficult moments. The concern is that Marlon is now entering a different stage of his career, where people start wondering whether this was just one bad season, or if it could be the beginning of a natural decline because of age and the physical demands of the position. In my opinion, this is the most important moment of Marlon Humphrey's career in Baltimore. He has already proven that he can play at an elite level, but now he has to show that he can still be a dominant force on a Ravens defense that always carries high expectations. A bad season can happen to any player, especially a position as difficult as cornerback, where a small drop in speed, reaction time, or consistency can completely change the outcome of a play. And the good news for Humphrey is that his own career history shows he has already proven he can respond after facing adversity. Before we make any final judgment about Marlon Humphrey, we have to remember that he has already faced difficult moments in his career and found a way to come back stronger. His time in Baltimore is filled with examples of a player who knows how to overcome challenges. And in my opinion, this is something that cannot be ignored when we talk about his future. Great athletes are often defined by how they respond when things do not go according to plan. One of the best examples came after the 2023 season. That year, Humphrey dealt with injuries and was not able to perform at the level everyone expected from him. But instead of allowing that season to define his career, he came back in 2024 and delivered one of the best years of his career. He recorded 6 interceptions and 15 pass breakups, both career highs in those categories. That response showed that he still had the physical ability and the football instincts needed to compete among the best players at his position. That is why I believe there's a big difference between saying Humphrey had a bad season and saying he is no longer an elite player. Those are two completely different things. A 29-year-old cornerback entering his 10th NFL season will naturally need to make adjustments, but experience can also become a major advantage. Smart players can make up for certain physical limitations with better awareness, improved positioning, and a deeper understanding of opposing offenses. And Baltimore has reasons to believe a comeback is possible because other great cornerbacks have continued playing a high level after turning 30. Players like Marcus Peters and Jimmy Smith are examples of defenders who remain important even later in their careers. Marlon is set to become the 7th active NFL cornerback aged 30 or older, but age alone does not tell the entire story. And there's another factor that could become the key to his comeback: the arrival of a new defensive system that could completely change the way Humphrey is used on the field.
If you're enjoying this breakdown, smash that like button to help the purple flock grow.
One of the biggest changes for Marlon Humphrey in 2026 may not only come from him, but from the system that will be built around him. With Jesse Minter arriving as the Ravens' new defensive coordinator, Baltimore will have a new philosophy and a new approach to organizing its defense. And in my opinion, a change in scheme could be exactly what some players need to rediscover their best football. Throughout his career, Humphrey has always stood out because of his physicality, intelligence, and ability to handle different situations on the field. He is not just a cornerback who relies on athletic ability. He uses his experience to read offenses, anticipate plays, and create opportunities. A new defensive system could allow him to maximize those strengths again and find a more comfortable role within Baltimore's defense. But there's pressure that cannot be ignored. 2026 will be one of the most important seasons of Marlon Humphrey's career. He is entering a crucial contract year, and he knows his performance could directly impact the decisions the Ravens make moving forward. If he can return to the level he showed in previous seasons, the entire conversation about him being overpaid could disappear very quickly. I see this moment as a major opportunity for Humphrey to prove that one disappointing season does not define his career. He has already shown that he can be one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. He has overcome challenges before, and now he has another chance to prove his value. At the end of the day, the question is not just whether Marlon can still play at a high level, but whether he can turn 2026 into the season that completely changes the narrative surrounding his contract and his legacy in Baltimore. Because when everything is said and done, this season could determine whether he is remembered for the size of his contract or for the great performances he still delivers wearing a Ravens uniform. Asterisk, asterisk. Marlon Humphrey enters 2026 facing one of the most important moments of his career. After a season that fell below expectations, he started receiving criticism because of his contract and his performance on the field. But at the same time, he has a major opportunity ahead of him. A new defensive system, the continued trust of the Ravens organization, and a personal history of proving that he can respond when challenged. In my opinion, it is still too early to say that Marlon is no longer an elite player. He has already proven his value in Baltimore. He has had dominant seasons, and he has shown that he can come back stronger after difficult moments. Now, 2026 will give him the chance to prove that one disappointing year does not define his entire career, and that he can still be one of the leaders of this Ravens defense. But I want to know your opinion. Do you believe Marlon Humphrey will return to the level of one of the NFL's top cornerbacks in 2026, or do you think the Ravens need to start thinking about the future of the position? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
And if you're a true Ravens fan and love keeping up with everything happening around the team, don't leave this video without sharing it with a friend who's just as passionate. They're definitely going to enjoy this. See those videos on your screen right now? I picked the first one especially for you, and the other is recommended by YouTube. Go check them out, and I'll see you in the next video.